Hello and welcome back to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe. Let's get the channel to 20k. So in this video, I have this British brother who goes on to say that he thinks African Americans are confused because when asked which part of Africa they are from, they seem not to know, which is very true. But how does he expect them to know when their ancestors were shipped into America a long time ago? Meaning that generations after those wouldn't know exactly which part of Africa they are from, and they are born and raised in America. When are people going to leave our fellow black brothers and sisters alone? Like, it's been going on for some time now. I just don't know why this keeps on happening. Enough is enough, because I feel they are also tired. Do they have to live rent-free in everybody's head? Like, really? Let me not bore you with a lot of words, but let me play you a video of him that has gotten people talking. And when I come back, we talk more about this issue. Here is a clip. I will be right back.
Bro, I don't know if Americans are genuinely confused or they're just thick, because this blew my mind. And if you're not American, this will probably blow your mind too. So I'm from England, right? But most English people are usually white, just like Americans are usually white too, okay? Keep that in mind, this is very important. As you can see from looking at my skin, I am not just white, I have black in me, which means I come from African descent. To be more specific, Ghanaian descent. Keep this in mind. I was outside in America and I seen a fellow melanin brother. Now, when I'm looking at melanin people, I can usually tell what part of Africa you are from your features. And I saw this brother that I thought might have been Ghanaian too. Big up my Ghana brothers, by the way. But was I so wrong? So I proceeded to ask, yo bro, what part of Africa you from? He said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I was like, oh word, but like, where are your parents from? Atlanta, Georgia. So what about your grandparent? Atlanta, Georgia. So my next question was, how are you black? There's a lot of black people in Atlanta, Georgia, son. So you're telling me that you're not from Africa, but your skin is saying otherwise? Yep, proud African American, straight out of Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. And before I could ask him any more questions, brother, I answered it for myself. These people genuinely think that African American is its own race. And this is actually deep, bro. These African Americans are children. Yes, you heard me right. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but there's no such thing as African Americans. Your ancestors were just taken from Africa to America, brainwashed, and completely forgot where they came from. And that's the truth. So maybe go look at your history before saying I'm African American.
After watching this video, I can only question whether he is not aware of history or he's just trying to be ignorant. Like, a lot of African Americans have African descent, yes, but the problem is that they don't know where exactly they came from. Their ancestors were taken there like a long time ago, and generations after them were born there. So how would they know? He wasn't even supposed to say all these things in the first place. Like, it's the confidence for me when you don't even know what you're talking about. Am I the only one who thinks like this? I don't know, but I don't think so. So let's check out these teachers, and when I get back, we talk more about this issue. Here are the teachers. I will be right back.
And you have no sort of...
To be black and relatively conscious in America is to be in a constant state of rage almost all the time. As African Americans, our history has been ripped from us. So no, we can't tell you exactly where we are from. All we can say is my grandmother is from Georgia or my granddad is from Virginia. Here's one of my favorite children's books to read to my son. I suggest you start here. We are a people that were born on the water. Go back and watch the video before it also, so y'all can see a perfect example of what racial gaslighting is. So we are in an emotionally abusive relationship with America. They oftenly engage in gaslighting, which is a form of emotional abuse. When they try to tell you your experience or your ancestors' experience, it really wasn't what it was. It wasn't as bad. They try to warp your reality and make you think, hey, what we did, it wasn't even that bad. And it's really not a good feeling, especially when it's coming from diaspora, the diaspora wars or somebody of African descent. It is really not a good feeling. That's why it's important to take time off of social media so you don't get caught up and overly expose yourself to the emotional abuse.
He needed to ask, yo bro, what part of Africa you from? He said, I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I was like,
this whole fucking thing is a microaggression. This is my problem with the whole conversation of, why don't you guys know where you're from? Why don't you claim your ancestral home of origin? We don't know. When slavery happened, all that stuff was stripped from us. And this whole mindset and this whole questioning is very much like poking fun at us, and we don't find it funny at all. We're dealing with a generational trauma that you're trying to like kick around for kicks and laughs. And then it's the same people that think like this that accuse African Americans of having main character energy. Meanwhile, they're dripped out in everything that we made popular and we made cool across the globe. African American culture is the base for what's cool worldwide for the rest of the diaspora. But y'all aren't ready for that conversation. Why not build community with us instead of poking fun at our trauma?
Is its own race.
You think after bringing up this conversation every 2 to 3 business days, the Beans and Toast Brigade would get tired of it? Like, why are you always trying to tell us who we are and what we are? I mean, you're on the internet with an English accent trying to police my ethnic origin. I mean, that's kind of ironic. I mean, I don't see this level of energy for Jamaicans or Haitians, Bahamians, anyone in the Caribbean, anyone in South America. You just always want to police African Americans? We're 400 plus years removed from Africa, and you want us to know exactly where we come from, as if slave records were like really telling us that and passing down traditions? I don't get it. I mean, the only difference between us and people in South America and people in the Caribbean was a stop on a boat. Literally, that's it. I mean, maybe you should read up on that. Maybe if you worried more about the royal family swindling you out of your tax dollars, you'd have something better to worry about than what we identify as. Get it together.
What really pissed me off about this, y'all never asked Jamaicans or Haitians or Puerto Ricans where y'all really from. Because we all got to these places around the same time, 400 years ago. Our ethnic group has been in America for 400 years. I mean, even if we do know what African countries we come from, like me, I'm Gullah Geechee, so I know that I'm probably from Sierra Leone and Senegal. But like, I'm African American, so when you ask somebody where they from or where they parents from, where they great parents from, we're from America. 400 years, my guy. 400 years.
It's saying otherwise.
Y'all know what time it is. Okay, it says here you have a $1,500 rent fee that's due at the beginning of this month.
Why? Rent for what?
What you mean, why? You made this video for no reason, and we clearly in your head rent free. We don't even know y'all like that. And here it says you got a $300 clout chasing fee.
A clout chasing fee for what?
What is you talking about? Clearly you're chasing clout because literally all your videos have nothing to do with us, but I guess your views ain't looking the best, so you decided to make a video on us. So we'll take that in cash or money order. We also have a $200 ignorance fee because clearly you ain't did your research on why African Americans don't know where they come from. We're sick of explaining it to you, but clearly you ain't gonna learn. So now we're charging y'all $200. You know what? I'm getting pissed. $400. Now the rest of you crumpet eating beans and toast for breakfast having heifers and dudes out there, shut up unless you do some darn research. Shut up.
We literally mind our own African American business. Like,
however, a lot of that, I think, had to do with
Now, learning about family history can be a challenge for Black Americans because of slavery. It is often difficult for them to trace their ancestry prior to the 1870 census. Like, records of the enslaved are often handwritten, poorly maintained, or simply lost over time. Now, a significant share of Black Americans feel very or extremely informed about U.S. Black history, and many turn to the people closest to them to learn about it. Those who feel at least a little informed about Black history are more likely to say they learned everything or most things they know about it from family and friends than from the media, the internet, or college if they attended. Overall, at least half of Black adults who say they're informed about Black history learned at least some of what they know about it from each of these sources. Non-Hispanic Black adults are more likely than multiracial Black adults to say they learned everything or most things they know about Black history from friends and family. There are very few differences between US-born and foreign-born Black adults on this question, although about a quarter of those born outside the US say they learned little or nothing of what they know about Black history from their families or friends. African Americans are one of the largest of the many ethnic groups in the United States, and they are mainly of African ancestry, but many have non-Black ancestors as well. These are largely the descendants of enslaved people who were brought from their African homelands by force to work in the New World. Now, their rights were severely limited, and they were long denied a rightful share in the economic, social, and political progress of the United States. Nevertheless, African Americans have made basic and lasting contributions to American history and culture. At the turn of the 21st century, more than half the country's more than 36 million African Americans lived in the South. 10 southern states had black populations exceeding 1 million. African Americans were also concentrated in the largest cities, with more than 2 million living in New York City and more than 1 million in Chicago. For many Americans, blended ancestry is an integral part of their identity. The mosaic of hyphenated heritage preserves cultural connections beyond the United States, lineages that build pride and a sense of belonging. But for many Americans descended from enslaved Africans, the roots of their ancestry are often a mystery. Genealogists refer to this as the brick wall and obstruction in African American lineage that dates to 1870, when the federal census began recording African descendants 250 years after they were first held in chains to what would become the United States. Now, before then, their lives existed on paper only as another person's property. To penetrate the brick wall, Black Americans frequently must rely on the names of their ancestor owners. You can find them through their owners' tax records, estate records, slave schedules, and wills, said Mary Elliott, the Slavery and Freedom Curator for the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Even after abolition, the Black experience has fallen victim to campaigns that obscure the darkest parts of the American story, diminishing African Americans' connections to their past and warping the collective memory of the nation's history. But in recent years, Black Americans have pursued new efforts to uncover their Americans' connections to their past and warping the collective memory of the nation's history. But in recent years, Black Americans have pursued new efforts to uncover their stories, from exploring sunken vessels of their Middle Passage to reconstructing museum exhibits that chronicle slavery. African Americans are breaking down the barriers that separate them from their ancestors and reconnecting with a lineage once lost. Now, over the last several hundred years, the United States has been the site of ongoing mixing of peoples of continental populations that were previously separated by geography. Native Americans, Europeans, immigrants to the Americas, and Africans brought to the New World largely via the transatlantic slave trade came together in the New World. Now, relationships between individuals with different continental origins, which we refer to as population admixture, results in individuals who carry DNA inherited from multiple populations. Although U.S. government census surveys and other studies of households in the U.S. have established fine-scale self-described ethnicity at the state and county level, the U.S. 2010 Census Online, the relationship between genetic ancestry and self-reported ancestry for each region has not been deeply characterized. Understanding genetic ancestry of individuals from a self-reported population and differences in ancestry patterns among regions can inform medical studies and personalized medical treatment. The genetic ancestry of individuals can also shed light on the history of admixture and migrations within different regions of the U.S., which is of interest to historians and sociologists. Previous studies have shown that African Americans in the U.S. typically carry segments of DNA shaped by contributions from peoples of Europe, Africa, and the Americas, with variations in African and European admixture proportions across individuals and differences in groups across parts of the country. More recent studies that utilize high-density genotype data provide reliable individual ancestry estimates, illustrate the large variability in African and European ancestry proportions at an individual level, and are able to detect low proportions of Native American ancestry. Now, Latinos across the Americas have differing proportions of Native American, African, and European genetic ancestry, shaped by local historical interactions with migrants brought by the slave trade, European settlement, and indigenous Native American populations. Individuals from countries across South America, the Caribbean, and Mexico have different profiles of genetic ancestry molded by each population's unique history and interactions with local Native American populations. Now, coming to the comments, here are some of them I would like to share. This one says, the dumbest part is it's the same for us who are of Caribbean descent, but they never say this to us. Just dumb. We're all stolen. Hello? I feel like other diasporas act purposely when it comes to African American history. We can't even have a name? Wow. What part of our ancestry was burned and beaten out of US slave? Do they not comprehend? They're so mad they both didn't stop in America. At this point, they're just doing this for clout because there is no way they don't get it by now. He absolutely did this for clout because look at his views before this video and compare it to this video. A British half-breed saying African Americans. Ghana was established in 1957, hundreds of years after slavery. Why doesn't that ever come into the conversation? He did the video in an American accent. The obsession is real. He's trying to erase us because he's trying to be one of us. It's almost like they deliberately try not to understand that our culture is different and background since slavery. Apparently, it's unacceptable to not know what African country you're from if your ancestors were sent to the Caribbean. A lot of comments from people, and one would wonder why they just keep on talking about African Americans when they are a lot. Why does it always have to be African Americans? Kindly share your thoughts in the comment section. From me, it's bye-bye, and see you in my next video.